We're going to forge a new tradition today starting now. So one of the things I think would be impactful to all of you is to see the impact that you all have as a system. And so this is hopefully going to become an annual tradition for us. We're going to call this the Alumni Roundtable. So sitting here with me right now are 3 alumni, one from each high school, and we're going to talk to them, ask them some questions, and let you hear about their experience in Walled Lake and where they are. So as a start, we're just going to go right down the line. And so, Rachel, why don't you get us started? Tell us your name and what you're doing right now.
Sure.
Oh, and what year you graduated.
Sure. I'm Rachel Less. I graduated from Walled Lake Central, and currently I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm seeing patients in both Northville and Birmingham, and I graduated from Grand Valley. That was my undergrad institution, and Eastern Michigan University. That was my graduate institution where I got my master's.
Cute.
My name is Sophia Tomei. I graduated in 2018 from Walled Lake Western. I currently work as a clinical recruiter at Centria Autism. I hire behavior technicians to work one-on-one with children on the autism spectrum.
Hi. My mic working? Hi, I'm Claudia La Rochelle. I graduated in 2017 right here from Walled Lake Northern. I ended up going to Michigan for my undergrad out in Ann Arbor, and now I'm in Detroit at Detroit Mercy, and I'm pursuing my doctorate for dental school. I'll be a dentist in 2025.
So just to start us off, just tell us your path. You know, where'd you go to elementary school? Where'd you go to middle school? Where'd you go to high school?
Sure. So I went to Loon Lake L, and then after that went to Sarah Banks Middle School, and then Central.
Okay.
I went to Hickory Woods Elementary, and then I went to James R. Geisler for middle school, and then I went to Walled Lake Western, then Michigan State.
I went to Dublin, and then Clifford Smart, and then here at Northern, and then Michigan, and Detroit Mercy.
Very good, very good. So I think one of the first questions, or one of the easiest questions right out of the gate, just talk to us a little bit about how your time in Walled Lake schools and your education here impacted where you are now.
Absolutely. Well, I'll try to remain concise because truly I had such a profoundly impactful experience here with not only relationships with teachers, but just how I was pushed. So I'll say a couple themes where I was really pushed to go beyond what I thought my limits were. I learned my limits, and they were tested and pushed, and I learned what they truly were, which were beyond that. I had some profoundly impactful relationships with teachers that really showed me that I'm allowed to be human. Sometimes I'm allowed to admit defeat, and that was truly meaningful as I pursued undergrad and graduate education, and especially what I do now. I've learned the importance of allowing folks to admit defeat sometimes and being human in that process. And there are a couple of really meaningful relationships with that. Christine Titus, if you're here, Marissa Kronk, thank you from the bottom of my heart, really.
Sophia?
My experience at Walled Lake Schools definitely impacted my road to where I am today. I did a program called Snaps and Pals my junior and senior year, and that led me to the world of special education, and I knew I wanted to do something working in autism. Wasn't sure what I could do with that, and my teacher, Miss Ellis, got me into the Michigan State Special Education program. Realized that really wasn't what I wanted to do. Still wanted to do special education, so she also helped me even after getting a position working as a clinical recruiter for a company that provides ABA therapy. So being able to have that Snaps and Pals program, which I know that a lot of kiddos aren't able to do, definitely opened up the world to my true passion, as well as being a part of Mr. Joe Johnson's Positive Peer Influence group. My senior year definitely allowed me to grow up and mature and kind of figure out a way to work things out between peers, which ultimately led to my focus being interpersonal communications in college. So definitely impacted me a great deal, for sure.
For me, I started Walled Lake Schools as a really, really quiet kid. I used to be extremely shy, extremely quiet, and anyone that knows me now in dental school would be shocked to see how I was as a kid. But I think what really embellished in me a sense of leadership and finding my own voice was a lot of the influence I had through Walled Lake Schools. It was crazy because in middle school, I had teachers who even would jokingly like refer to me as Mouse and pull me aside, always make sure I was okay, and like honestly made me feel so comfortable. But by the time I was a freshman here, I was still feeling like really shy and I didn't have my own voice yet. But through a lot of the teachers, here especially at Northern, I think it was like that big like coming of age movie story for me here, I guess. I ended up running for class president at the end of my freshman year, which kind of shocked everyone in my life a little bit because I knew I was organized, I knew I could do the job, but I was always known to be very quiet. Doing leadership and being class president all the way through my time at Northern from freshman year on was a huge, huge like game changer for me. In Michigan, I pursued a lot of leadership roles to help the American Cancer Society for the breast cancer awareness walks. And then now at Detroit Mercy, I'm sure you guys have all seen the little sticker on your toothpaste that says ADA. That's the American Dental Association. So they protect the rights and welfare of patients and practitioners alike across the nation. The student division of that is the American Student Dental Association, and I'm the president of that for Detroit Mercy, and I'm running for a national position this year, which is insane. I'll be flying to Denver to speak publicly on that, and I've also been on Capitol Hill both this past March and on this March advocating for Medicaid expansion and for the READY Act for loan deterrent. So I would have never thought like Shy Claudia would ever do that, so I just really want to thank everyone who's involved with student leadership because it's completely changed my life.
So I want, but before I ask you what advice, if any, you have for the folks gathered here or what message you'd like to share with them, I want to just ask us a couple of quick, memorable questions for you. So your favorite piece of playground equipment when you were in elementary school?
Quick answer, I was a big swing person. It's a classic. I really enjoyed that one.
Okay, very good, very good.
I would say the swings too, but Hickory Woods has that giant soccer field, and my friends and I used to run back and forth with recess all the time. And also that blacktop, we'd always go up on the little hill that's right on the side there by those doors, and definitely the whole playground is absolutely wonderful over at Hickory Woods, so it's hard to kind of figure out.
Yep, Claudia?
At Dublin, there's that really big rock wall. I was a rock wall kid because I was always really short, and I liked being as high up as I could get. So that was really fun for me, and we kind of treated it as our castle when we played games. So that's a fond memory for me.
Very good, very good. My oldest daughter, Avery, is going to be a sixth grader this year. So she's going through this transition at home, and it's not fun, it's interesting to listen to her talk right now about all the things that are on her mind. So as you were getting ready to make your own transition to middle school, what was the thing you were most nervous about? Do you remember?
The size, I definitely say that. New people, that's such a difficult social transition. And that's not to instill fear.
Yeah, no. We're all adults here, it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody here's been through it, I think.
We've all been through it, but yeah, top of mind are those couple of things.
Definitely same, the size. I mean, I feel like pretty much every school that I started, even going into college, definitely like finding my classes was one of the most scary things going in, and I always felt like I would be late for the first class because I wouldn't know where my class was, and like in middle school, you did go back and forth a little bit, but not too much. So just kind of like finding where my math class was, my social studies class, and that was definitely nerve-wracking, especially going into high school as well, too. So just finding the classes.
Sure, yeah. Claudia?
I think in elementary school, you have a really solid home base with your main teacher that you have through all schools. You have your main teacher. You might switch for a subject or two, from what I remember. And I remember really finding a comfort in having that home base and being scared in middle school to hop around different classes, to have the different choices of what classes to take. That was also, for someone who really struggles making decisions, that was really scary for me as a kid to think, oh my gosh, if I take this, I won't be in an AP class. And when I get to high school, that's already where my brain was as a nervous middle schooler. So I think just not having the home base was nerve-wracking, and the scariness of choice was also scary.
Sure. Yeah. So high school is a universal human experience. Everybody in the room went to high school, and most of them graduated. So one of the most powerful things about high school is that you find yourself in this moment, right? This one moment in high school, whether it's the homecoming game or the school production or, Claudia, you mentioned your leadership class. What for you was that moment in high school where you were just in the moment and you always look back on high school and that's what you think of? That's why I'm the superintendent, I ask good questions. I'm thinking about a future in journalism if this gig doesn't work out.
So for me, it wasn't so much a homecoming song or a football game. It was one activity, and again, if Marissa Kronk, you're out there, this was you. One activity on the first day of school, which was a get to know you event, and she had us line up face to face in 2 lines. So we were looking at each other, and she had us cross the lines if our experience aligned with a statement that she read off. And these statements were superhuman. I'm a psychologist. I loved this activity. Superhuman. Are you somebody that struggles with mental health? And of course, I want to preface this by saying that it was optional to cross. It was optional to make your experience known. But my gosh, to know that I'm not the only one. In high school, that's something that we cannot recognize. We all thought we were the only one. But on the first day to really set this tone that I'm not alone in this, that was my moment. That was a correction for a high school attitude.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Sophia?
One of the biggest moments in high school that really stood out to me was being able my senior year to be a part of the yearbook class, and kind of creating that yearbook that I would always remember for my senior year, and being able to write down those memories and capture those memories and be the person that's out there taking the photos, writing the articles. Actually minored in journalism, so definitely a writer.
Next time you ask the question.
For sure, definitely a writer. So being a part of yearbook and being able to really capture those memories to be able to hold on to, and I still look back at my senior year yearbook and look at the pictures of my teachers, my volleyball team, a bunch of different individuals that I was part of clubs with. It definitely made my whole senior year get put into perspective into that one yearbook. So definitely being a part of that all senior year really, really made everything be put into perspective for sure.
Very good. Claudia?
For me, besides leadership and everything I did with both leadership class here and with class council and student council, I loved being on this stage in particular. I was in choir, so I did chambers choir, and I also was involved with the musicals all 4 years as, again, like I said, someone who struggled to find their voice, having an outlet to do that was so fun for me. I grew up dancing. I was dancing since I was 3 years old, and then I was teaching by the time I was a senior, so it was a really cool outlet for me to be able to bring that here. In a really unique, performative way. The productions here are phenomenal. If you've ever seen any of the Walled Lake shows that you guys all probably have seen at least 1 or 2, they're all incredible. And I've met the best people, and the people that I keep in touch with the most from high school or from theater, because we formed such a close bond, and they're truly some of my favorite memories from that whole time of my life was on the stage in the musical productions. They were absolutely amazing, and I think the experience for the arts is just so invaluable.
All right, so they're giving me the sign, so that means it's time for the last question. And the last question is, here gathered before you are employees from across Walled Lake schools. As they get ready to embark on another school year, what's your message for them? What would you like to say?
Sure. So a couple things come most readily to mind. First of which is set your expectations high. And I know your prospective students would want me to bite my tongue right now for saying that. But there's so much out there that says that when we set our expectations high, that actually improves outcomes, improves results. There's something out there called the Rosenthal or expectancy effect, so give that a Google search. So set those expectations high, especially from my experience knowing that a common fitness phrase is, your mind will stop you before your body does. I think that's kind of applicable here, that our limits are a little further than what we think they are. Second is, don't be afraid to be human. You don't have to be Wonder Woman or Superman every day. And from my experience, it was so meaningful to see that my teacher could be human too. So if you're having a bad day, it's so okay. So that humanizing, I'd say, is definitely okay and in fact encouraged.
My advice would definitely be, as a mandatory reporter myself, would be if you see something, say something. Kids nowadays, they have a really, really tough time growing up with social media and all the different influences out there. What they need are individuals that are looking out for them, that are on their side and truly want the best for these kids. I think one of the biggest things that led me in the right direction was having those strong role models at all of my schools that I went to at Walled Lake, and having those individuals, whether it be counselors, teachers, that I could really go to in times of distress or in times of need. And a lot of the times, kids, they don't want to speak up. I mean, there is a stigma to it. So if you do see something, say something. These kids need us, and they need stronger individuals around them to make sure that we're guiding them in the right direction. Like I said, to reiterate, social media nowadays is putting a lot of pressure on a lot of different children, and a lot younger than it used to be. So definitely be there and be an advocate for these children, for sure.
For me, this is an interesting question because my sister's actually starting as a first-year educator this year, so we've been talking a lot about this exact thing of like good advice for anyone starting in their like whatever year of teaching, whatever it is. And one thing that we've kind of reached a consensus on is remember your why. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be teaching, you could be a dentist, you could be doing what these wonderful ladies are doing. If you remember your why, it's going to encourage you to keep going and encourage you to do it to the best of your ability. And tagging off of that is to lead by example. Truly, the teachers that stand out in my mind carried themselves with such professionalism and held us all to high expectations. And that truly put a fire under my butt to do as much as I did in high school and propel me forward into my future. So remember your why and present every day as you would expect your students to, because I swear leading by example is the best thing that you can do. And you guys are all going to do a great job.
Claudia, Sophia, Rachel, I cannot thank you enough for doing this and for setting the bar really high for future panels. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.